So you've already defined vertical integration and horizontal integration. Now, what about laissez-faire? And I've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it again. Here's the definition you need to write down. I am not going to put it up on the slide because I know you will skim through these videos and just copy down what's on the slide. So I need to do this to make sure you're paying attention. Don't hate me. Letting people do as they choose. Letting people do as they choose. Or you could write hands off, because I think that's the more literal translation. It is a French term, so I will not hold it against you if you misspell it on a test. Pools are agreements to keep prices at a certain level. Lily Andrews made the comment last week about how it was kind of like a spit shake. So you go, hey, I promise I won't raise my prices if you don't raise your prices. And then as soon as you walk out that door, I go, what an idiot. Of course I wouldn't keep my prices the same as that person. And I drop my prices. That's kind of the idea behind pools. It's a secret, illegal, remember we had talked about it in class, definitely illegal agreement to fix prices. Price fixing is illegal. So you could write price fixing. So in an effort to stop horizontal integration and the rise of monopolies, which we'll define in a second, many states made it illegal for one company to own stock in another company. However, it didn't take long for companies to realize ways around this. So one of the first ways around getting around this anti-monopoly laws is to form trusts, it's a newer way of merging businesses that did not violate kind of those anti-monopoly laws. Again, we'll define monopolies in a second. But a trust, here we go. A trust is a legal arrangement that allows one person to manage another person's property. And the person who manages the property is a trustee. So if I became the trustee over Andrew's property, I would be in control of everything he does with his money, his capital, his property. Okay, so now on to holding companies. A holding company does not produce anything. Instead, it owns the stock of companies that do produce something. Effectively, it's very similar to a trust, but one more time. A monopoly is a single company that achieves control of an entire market. This would also be horizontal integration. A monopoly is when a single company achieves control of an entire market. What is a corporation? A corporation is an organization owned by many people, but treated by law as if it were a person. So one of the things that Bernie Sanders was talking about is having corporations not treated as people. What do I mean by that? It can own property, pay taxes, make contracts, it can sue and be sued. And people who own a piece of that or a stock of that corporation are called stockholders. So stock or owning stock is when you own part of a corporation or a company by purchasing a share. Owning part of a company through the purchasing of a share or a piece of that company. Okay, so kind of staying on this idea of big business. Small companies couldn't compete with the economics of a large-scale business. and some of the practices of some businesses limited competition. So a monopoly limits competition. So Andrew Carnegie. Now I'm going to explain who this guy is. Go through my little slide at the bottom. You're going to see robber baron or captain of industry. You're going to circle which one, not now, but in a minute. Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish American who led the expansion of the American steel industry, also known as one of the richest Americans, one of the richest people, one of the richest people to ever live ever. He opened a steel company in Pittsburgh, became super influential in the formation of the city of Pittsburgh. That is why it's called the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can actually see this emblem of the Pittsburgh Steelers on the United States Steel Company. Very similar logo. Now, Andrew Carnegie utilized vertical integration. He also wrote something called the Gospel of Wealth, which we talked about in class. Now, when it comes to this, is he considered a robber baron or a captain of industry? I'm going to show you a short clip. We're going to talk about several of these robber barons or captains of industry, and I want you to just circle, watch the clip. You don't have to take notes. Just watch the clip and circle robber baron or captain of industry. And then in the space on the side of your notes, write why you think this. You will lose points if you do not do this. This is how I am grading if you actually watched this video.
Greed made him millions. Philanthropy made him respectable.
Maybe with the giving away of his money, he would justify what he had done to get that money.
The clash of good and evil inside the richest man in the world.
But everyone knew there was only one king of steel.
He set out literally to conquer the world of steel, and that he did, and became the largest steel producer not only in the United States, but Carnegie Steel by 1900 produced more steel than the entire steel industry of Great Britain.
Carnegie was fond of saying, "The man who dies rich dies disgraced." He made his fortune, and then, unlike any industrialist of his time, began systematically to give it away. He was most famous as a benefactor of libraries, almost 3,000 around the world. He gave millions to support education, a pension plan for teachers, and the cause of world peace. Carnegie wrote of the obligations of the wealthy, how they should return their money to the societies where they made it.
Then, almost inadvertently, Carnegie, as a kind of aside, tosses in a very revealing sentence. He wrote, "And besides, it provides a refuge from self-questioning." In other words, this old internal and eternal torment was still going on. Maybe with the giving away of his money, he would justify what he had done to get that money.
So we have John D. Rockefeller. He utilized horizontal integration and formed one of the first and probably most famous monopolies. Now, when everybody found out about the oil in Pennsylvania and in Texas, instead of going straight for drilling, Rockefeller, the smart, really intelligent man that he is, decided, wait, if everybody's going to go and compete for drilling, what if I instead build refineries and own that market? He pioneered and led the refining business, the refining boom that coincided with the finding of oil in Texas and in western Pennsylvania. So again, we're going to watch a clip about John D. Rockefeller. Hopefully not that long. You never know. Circle at the bottom. Is he a robber baron or is he a captain of industry?
Every business is about understanding people, which people you have to get through, which people you have to embrace, which people you have to jump over, which people you have to push out of the way. That's the game.
Do you play cards, Mr. Rockefeller?
No.
Shame. You could learn a lot about competition.
I know all I need to know.
So, I'm looking to do a deal with an oil refinery. And that could be you.
I'm willing to do an exclusive deal. $1.65 a barrel.
That's a discount of more than a third. There's several refineries in Cleveland. Why should I give you such a deal?
Because I'll fill all your trains with my oil. And if you don't do the deal, I'll fill someone else's trains.
Mr. Rockefeller?
Do you trust him?
I don't know.
Rockefeller may have gotten the rate he was looking for, but in return, he's agreed to provide Vanderbilt with over 60 train cars of oil every day. The only problem is, Rockefeller has no way to produce that much kerosene. His capacity is less than half of that. Rockefeller has overpromised, but he knows the deal with Vanderbilt will be the opportunity he's been waiting for. He just needs to find a way to produce more kerosene. It's a daunting task, but John D. Rockefeller has been beating the odds his entire life.